Welcome back, creators. So many sublimation artists ask, how do I start creating my own designs? Well, today I'm going to show you how you can create one design and turn it into a family fun outfit. Okay, let's get right into the fun stuff. When talking to any new graphic designers, I recommend going over to Canva. It is so beginner friendly, plus they have a budget for everybody with a free or a paid option. Now today I'm going to use the paid option, but you can just go in and create an account with whichever feels best for you. Once you're in, hit create, and then at the bottom hit customize size. When working with t-shirts, I like to use inches and units and then 10 by 10. 10 by 10 inches gives you a pretty good range for any size t-shirt, and if you need to scale up or scale down, it's a perfect size to do so without losing a lot of your design or getting pixelation when you print. Now when this opens, it's going to be blank, of course. And on the left-hand side, you can see all of the elements, text, everything that can be added into the space. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I always recommend going into the top right-hand corner and adjusting your title. Because when we extract our designs or download them, the title that we use here is going to be the title that downloads, so it's just going to make everything a lot easier to find and understand what the heck we're looking at. When you get into the creative flow, you'll find that you have a process. And for me, I break my design into a couple categories. I have the main design and then the sub design. My main design is going to be the Lightning McQueen SVG, and then my sub design is going to be my text. So I'm going to head over into a search engine, and you can use Safari or Google Chrome, whatever you work with, and do a quick Google search. For my instance, I will use Lightning McQueen SVG, and immediately I see so many options. Now, we're pretty much going real simple here, so I see some Etsy options and some Pinterest options, but at the bottom, I do see a free version, and I have used this site a couple different times. They have amazing designs. I recommend heading over and checking them out. Remember, they are only for personal use, but when I hop in here, I can see that there is not one, but 3 designs to choose from. So I'm going to scroll to the bottom and please make sure that you don't click anything that says like down your copy or anything that looks like an ad. See at the bottom here, if you scroll just a little bit lower, there is that main download button. That's where I'm going to grab this download. Now, I work on a Mac computer, so it's going to be in my top, drop down in my downloads, but if you're on a PC, same place, especially if you're using Google Chrome, no matter what, it is going to be in your files and then in your downloads. From here, we need to head back over to Canva and get that new download into our Canva software. As you can see here, I've already went in and created some of this, so mine does appear, but just for example, I'll go ahead and show you how you would do this. Simply hit Upload File, and then go into your Downloads tab, click the SVG, and select Upload. Then it's going to appear. Click your SVG, and it's going to pop it over to your design board. Of course, the design board is black, and I do that because they're going to work with black t-shirts. I like to design on top of the color that it would go on to make sure that everything looks cohesive. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to change the background back to white so we can see what we're working with. Now, when we upload this, as you can see, it is an SVG file, and that kind of just means that there's not too much room to change things, especially the color. I want the race car to be red. We can't really do that with an SVG, so I need to make it a vector graphic. And the best thing about Canva is they have a bunch of different apps on the side here that you can utilize. So I go down to apps on the left-hand side, type in vector, and there are a bunch of options, but I like this vector graphic design the best. It does say add design for 5 credits. I don't know if that's just the paid version. I do have the paid version, so I think I get 10 credits a month. But either way, I'm going to use the colorful option and then add the design. As you can see, they don't really look too different, but what you can do with them is quite different. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the original SVG design, and this bottom one is going to be editable, and that is exactly what I'm looking for. Now on the bottom here, I don't necessarily need this ka-chow, so I'm going to crop that out. In the top bar, you just select crop, and then take the area out that you're not looking to use. Then select done, and it's going to disappear. Simple as that. Once again, I am going to go back to the background and turn it black. That way, anything I design on top of it, I know when placed onto the black shirt, it's going to look the way that I want it to. So go to the top hand bar, select the color wheel, and then the black option. Of course, our car almost disappears into the background, so we need to change that. Select your car element, and then you will see the color wheel on the top bar. Then I select red, but this is a little bit too light of a red, I would say, for racing. So if you click the plus arrow, it's going to give you a slide option where you can pretty much customize to almost any color in the rainbow. Once you have your perfect color, head on over to the Elements tab, and this is where we're going to grab everything to kind of bring it to life. The first thing that I need is some of these racing flags. And if you go into graphics, these are the ones that you should use because you can pretty much edit them any way that works best for you. And you will see there are a ton of options. But I thought this one was going to work best with what I was doing. Now, because the car is an SVG file, or originally it was an SVG file, that means that there was no background. It was transparent. So if I were to put this flag in the back, you would see the sticks and all of those things that we really aren't necessarily looking for. So what I do is go into the magic eraser and kind of take out all the areas that I don't really need. This, I'm not going to lie, you have to go in and mess with a couple different times. It does take some practice because you really got to eye everything. I wish there was some sort of a preview, but unfortunately there's not. So as you can see here, I hop out and then I go back in and kind of play with everything until it is almost perfect. I do want to add real quick, especially for the beginners, that graphic design is really just not as simple as throwing a bunch of things together. So if you feel like it's taking too much time or that you're just not getting the concept, really just play around with things. This video is about 14 minutes long, but I had to edit that down from about 36 minutes because a lot of it is just moving things around, seeing what works best, layering things, taking them away. And that is the perfect vision of what graphic design is. It's kind of just figuring it all out. Okay, now enough of me chatting. Back to the design. A couple more things that I wanted to add were some tire marks to show that the car's kind of moving or giving some sort of detail rather than it just being so flat. Although it is kind of just a simple design, but nevertheless, a little bit more detail never hurts. In my opinion, the elements are really what ties the entire design together. Now, you can use as little or as many as you would want, but Canva is nice because you can go into elements, type in next to anything you're looking for, and it will pop up. The one thing that I do like to add, just to make things a bit easier, is as you add your elements, instead of them being each individual pieces, make sure you drag over the entire selection and group everything together. That way, when you go to center your design or move anything around, you don't have to worry about losing the spacing because everything's linked together and it's going to move as one full piece. Okay, so remember all the way in the beginning of the video when I said that I had kind of like a primary design and then a secondary design, or whatever I called it? Well, this is what I would call the primary design. And now that I have it pretty much next to everything that I need, I'm going to grab it and center it. And remember, it was grouped together, so it's one full element, kind of. At this point, I'm going to work on my secondary elements, which is going to be the text. The top is going to say pit crew and the bottom is going to say mommy, daddy, sissy, and then we have a surprise guest at the end where we kind of flop this entire design around and do birthday boy, but one chunk at a time. So we're going to start with pit crew mommy, and I'm going to start with the basic element at the bottom, which is mommy. You can go ahead and select the text. It's always going to start as Canva Sans. Now, you can leave Canva Sans or you can pick from an array of different options here in the fonts area. You can also have the option to upload your own fonts if you have something that you found on DaFont or Creative Fabrica. But for the sake of today's video, I'm just going to use a font right here on Canva. Now, mine are in my recently used just to make things a little bit easier, but the number one thing that I recommend, at least for new beginners, is try different fonts because your font really changes the entire tone of the design. So I picked a few that I thought would maybe go for a 1-year-old, maybe go for a birthday, and maybe go for racing. And the one that I really stuck with was this Bobby Jones. I thought it was really retro looking. I thought it was appropriate for a 1-year-old's birthday party, and also a racing theme. Now, I didn't want it to be just straight across. I needed to give it a little bit more character. Plus, their inspiration photo was a little bit more on the curved side. And you can do this so easily by just selecting the text, going to the top toolbar and selecting Effects, and then Curve. Then you can kind of manipulate the curve around either way, and you are ready to go. Now, once that thing is ready to go, make sure you center it, but you don't have to put too much stress into lining everything up now, at least until the end. Now I'm going to focus on doing the top part, and their vision was having it in a banner, like a little racing banner saying pit crew. So I go into the elements once more and type in curved banner. Then I'm going to select one that looks kind of like what I'm looking for. I'm going on the more simple side, but still in the racing theme. I'll select it, resize it, and then of course put my color so that it matches everything. A good rule of thumb is to make sure that your banner is about the same size as the text on the bottom. That way everything's cohesive once again, and when you center it, it doesn't look off-put. Then I'm going to go in, add another line of text that says Pit Crew, change it to that Bobby Jones font, but this time I need to make sure that it is black because it's going to lay on top of that red banner. Then I'm going to once again go into Effects, Curve, but this time we're going to curve it the opposite way. Now it's time to just pretty much line everything up. And when it comes to graphic design, you could sit around and mess with different dimensions and lining things up and sizing. Just take your time. Don't feel pressured, don't feel stressed, and especially as a beginner, if you feel like something's a little bit off, try a couple different prints. You might find that one spacing is better than another or one size is better than another. That's the whole point. Okay, now that everything is the way that I want it, I'm going to select it all and hit Group. Now this is all one big group. I'm going to space it pretty much the entire size of that 10 by 10, and then it is on to the fun part, which is duplicating the process. Instead of going in and recreating this design 4 or 5 times, I'm just going to duplicate the page and then go in, ungroup the project, and change the font on the bottom from Mommy to Daddy, and then in the next one to Sissy, which these are super easy and a great way to really make a bunch of designs at once without racking your brain and sitting on your computer for hours. Now, remember a little bit ago when I said there was a bonus, there was a little surprise guest. Well, I am going to change this from Pit Crew Mommy or Pit Crew Daddy to Birthday Boy. Now, you may be thinking, whoa, this changes the whole design concept, but it really doesn't. Once again, we'll just go in, duplicate the page, and in the top part where it says Pit Crew, I'm just going to throw in Birthday without worrying about sizing first, and then on the bottom, change Sissy to Boy. Now, of course, you can see that the sizing is going to be a little bit off here, but you can grab everything, resize, adjust only that bottom one without having to go in, change every single element, every single design, and really have a whole headache on your hands. Now it looks like we have next to everything ready. And it's super easy to look at them in a line, or you can look at them in the page view, or even the graphic the graphic layout. What is this called? I can't remember, but this layout is one of my favorites. Once you've approved everything and you know that it looks good, it's time to get these out and you can get ready to print. In the top right hand corner is the share button. Now you can go down to the download and there are going to be a million options to download. SVG, PNG, JPEG, all of the options. For today's download, I'm going to do a PNG version because I need this thing to have a transparent background. So I'm going to select PNG, and then there are some more options like limiting the size file. I don't recommend this, you're going to lose a bit of detail, but the only thing you do want to check is the transparent background. Then it's going to download pages 1 through 4. You'll select download, and it is going to download all of your files. Once more, I am using a Mac, so it's going to appear in my top right-hand corner under downloads, and I think for a PC, it should be doing the same, at least if you're using the Google Chrome browser. Go ahead and open up your file. It may be a zip file, it may be a normal file, and now you can see all of your PNGs are downloaded with the transparent background. So that has like the gray file box. If it has the black background, you did not select that transparent background. So go back in and re-download, but go in, open all these up, make sure everything works well, the sizing, the color is perfect, and now you are ready to print. If you enjoyed today's tutorial, please make sure that you are subscribed for upcoming videos, and always leave recommendations down in the comments below as to questions, concerns, or new designs that you would like to see worked out. I hope you have a great day and have fun creating.